Whenever you pick fonts for whatever project that you're working on, you want to make sure that it's simple and directly ties in with the design that you want to use. You don't want to overthink this, but you do want to pick and choose fonts that are carefully appropriate for the design and also your target audience. Take for instance this example. So I had to develop an ad for a company called Common Unity. And this is a record store that specializes in rock and roll music, but they appeal to urban, modern, contemporary tastes. So the feel of the demographic that we wanted to appeal to had to also fit for rock and roll and had to fit for urban, modern, and young people. So that's the start for who we're trying to reach and the message we're trying to give to people. Now, I just typed in the default font that came up on my computer, and the font that you're seeing here is Minion Pro. To be honest, whenever you use the default, 9 times out of 10, it's not going to be the most appropriate font to use. Type can convey a lot, and when I look at this font, I'm not seeing anything that gives me the idea of rock and roll. I'm certainly not getting anything that's modern or urban with those serifs, the boldness. So we can clean this up a lot by choosing an appropriate typeface. There are some great websites that you can go to that allow you to download different fonts if you don't have them on your computer. One such website I love to use is dafont.com. It's great simply because it gives you a preview of what the font looks like. You can download and use most of these for free, at least for your personal or your class projects. And at the very top, it gives you a variety of different little subcategories that you can pick and choose these fonts from. But even when you choose these, what's appropriate? How can you get started and know what would fit best for your design? So going back to my original ad, let's get an idea of what they're looking for. But instead of looking at the text, let's look up some pictures that we can give us a better idea about the demographic. When I think of rock and roll and urban and modern, I went online and I tried to find some different kind of images that would be appropriate to use in other advertisements, or something that evokes that feeling of true rock and roll and urbanness and modernism. So when I think of rock and roll, sometimes it can be gritty, it can be loud, it can certainly be very flamboyant depending on the type of music that you listen to. There's a nostalgia to it. It's not for everybody, but it's the kind of thing that tries to be very expressive, especially of emotion. And these are the very appropriate images that can easily go along with this kind of advertisement. When I think of urban, I also think of modern. I think of clean lines. I think of sans-serifed typefaces. I think of slick design. And so there's some good contrast between this slick, modern, clean style and the grungy, urban, rock and roll style that can be part of it as well. I looked at a variety of fonts that were on my computer or that I found online, and I'll give you my thoughts and feelings on each one of these different things. First off, whenever I pick fonts for a project, I try to stick with only 2 different styles of font or typeface. One style will be used for the display type, and display type is supposed to be very big, in your face, attention getting, and the other style is for body copy. This is for all of the other text, especially important text that needs to be quickly and easily read. It can describe things, talk about a product, give prices, everything else goes with this. Display type is not easily read for body copy and vice versa. Body copy is usually too boring to use for a display, though there are some exceptions to this. Let's have a look at some of the display type first. The first thing I'll do is I'll type out just 1 or 2 words and I'll make a copy of it to give myself a variety of different fonts that I can look at. And I want to be able to see all of these working together. Then take it one at a time and play around with how this would look inside of your ad or in whatever design that you're creating. At the very top up here is Helvetica, and this is Helvetica Bold. Now, Helvetica is a default font for a lot of different designs. It certainly is very modern, it certainly is very clean, it has a great aesthetic, but it doesn't feel very rock and roll, and it certainly doesn't capture my attention. Underneath it, we've got Bodani Bold. Bodani is another great, bold, modern type font. It's used a lot in fashion. It's used a lot in urban styles and designs. And this would be a great one to use maybe even for body copy. But those serifs that are on there just aren't doing it. To go in an opposite direction, we've got something that's a little bit more hand-drawn type feel. This kind of has a feel that may be a little bit too juvenile. When I look at this font, though it looks good, it's nice, it's readable, it looks like something maybe a child would read. Underneath here goes a little bit farther with the hand-drawn elements. This is called Another Danger. This is kind of a unique little typeface display type, but it kind of evokes the feeling of anger, danger, horror, and it may not necessarily go along with the rock and roll and certainly trying to sell music to it. Underneath this, I really like this font. Now this combines the clean aesthetic of Helvetica with the grunginess that overlays the little texture within each of the characters. This is called Capture Smalls. And I almost chose this one. However, I wanted to have a good body copy to go along with it that could be a little bit more contradictory and complementary to it. The last one I looked up, I found this one online. I went into more of a street art and spray painting kind of feel. And I found one that looked like this. This is a great little font. This one's called Blank River, and I typed out Common Unity. It has the feel of somebody doing spray painting or hand calligraphy. It's easy to read. It's sans serif, and I think it would work well with my overall design. So if I chose this one, let's go ahead and place this in my advertisement. We'll swap it up. For now, I'm not going to worry about the color, but I will worry about the size so that it fills up the area. Automatically, I'm getting a better sense for some, there we go, for some movement. It has energy, it has vitality, and it's getting me much closer to what I'm trying to feel whenever I see this design. Now, when I look at body copy has to do a lot more in terms of keeping my attention once the display type has captured my attention. To do this, I just threw on some dummy text, and I want to see what my body copy would look like, not just in 1-point size, but in a variety of different sizes. You can see even within my advertisement, I've got a little subhead, and I've got smaller body copy. So as I've done with my display type, I create a variety of different little text boxes, and I test out different fonts. This first one up here is Bodani, just like we did with our headline text, and I typed it out in 8-point, 10-point, and 12-point. Bodani reads really well, but it's a very traditional style font. This looks like the kind of font that I would use if I wanted to give somebody an invitation to something. It's very formal. Contrasting it with a sans serif font, this is Helvetica. Helvetica reads really, really well, especially at small type, simply because it's got that large X height and it comes in a variety of different sizes and flavors. To push it a little bit farther, this is Futura. Now Futura, just like Helvetica, it's sans serifed, but check out how easy it is because of all the open space between any of the letters. The open areas, the large X height, it even looks good in bold and comes in a variety of different sizes. If I wanted to be more condensed with my type, condensed type is really good for reading and putting in a lot of extra text. Sometimes it goes a little bit farther and makes it look very blocky. So I think a good compromise would be Futura, and this is what I would use for the rest of my body copy for this design. Let's use this one and replace our subhead with Futura. And you can see, even Futura has a variety of different styles within it. I've got condensed, extra bold, medium, italics, and just regular bold for here. But adding this on here, that bold subhead going along with my bold display type, let's work on the body copy. So if I wanted that to be Futura, set it to be medium. That looks really good there. I could probably even get away with a smaller font size so that everything works well with this. Now I've got an advertisement that fits very well with the style of the font and goes along with the theme that I want for my advertising campaign. The last thing I would do is play around with color, play around with the position of everything, and also play around, of course, with my text to make sure it's nice and it's readable. So this week, I want to see you use this technique within the layout of your advertisements. Pick and choose an appropriate font that matches the style and the needs for your ads, the demographic, and the kind of content that you're trying to display and convey within your work.